The morning my son told me he was tired of seeing me, the coffee in my hand turned cold. He said it softly, like it wasn't meant to hurt, but it carved through my chest anyway. For 30 years, that house had been my world. The laughter, the birthdays, the nights I stayed awake waiting for him to come home. But that morning, he looked at me like I was part of the furniture, old, worn out, ready to be moved out of the way. 3 weeks later, when he and his wife drove up the driveway and saw the bright red sold sign hammered into the ground, their faces went pale. Then came the screaming. My name is Margaret Hayes. For most of my life, I believed love meant giving everything, your time, your savings, your soul. My husband died young, leaving me with a house we'd built together and a little boy named Ethan who was barely 4. That house was my heartbeat. Every corner told a story, the pencil marks on the wall showing Ethan's height over the years, the kitchen, floor where we danced barefoot after dinner, the oak tree outside where he'd built his first swing. I worked 3 jobs to keep it, a school cafeteria in the mornings, a grocery store in the evenings, bookkeeping from home at night. When Ethan grew up, I thought the sacrifice had been worth it. He became a real estate agent, charming, successful, married to a woman who loved marble countertops more than people. At first, they visit often. Then the visits grew shorter. Then came the calls about how the city isn't good for you, Mom, and maybe you should move somewhere smaller. I told him I was fine. I still baked his favorite pie every Sunday, even when he didn't show up. Until the day he did come, unannounced, holding papers. Mom, he said, I found a buyer for the house. You'll get good money. It's time to downsize. He smiled like he was doing me a favor. He didn't see the tremor in my hands. He didn't notice how my world cracked right there between the sugar bowl and the unpaid electric bill. For weeks, I tried to convince myself he meant well, that maybe he was just worried. But then I overheard him talking on the phone, not realizing I was standing behind the door. She's fine, he said. She just doesn't know it yet. Once I list the property, the deal's as good as done. His voice wasn't that of a son. It was the voice of a man who saw me as an asset, one he could flip for profit. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the kitchen staring at the framed photo of him at 5 years old, frosting on his nose, eyes full of trust. And I whispered to the quiet house, he's not that boy anymore. A week later, I found out the truth. The buyer wasn't a stranger. It was his wife's cousin, a developer planning to demolish my home to build townhouses. My house, my memories would become someone else's profit margin. I didn't yell. I didn't beg, I just listened. And when he came again with a stack of documents and that rehearsed smile, I signed every paper he put in front of me. He thought he'd won. He hugged me with that polite, hollow warmth and said, you'll thank me later. But what he didn't notice, what no one noticed, was that I'd already been making my own plans. For months, I'd been talking with an elderly couple from my church. They ran a shelter and had been looking for property to expand. They couldn't afford anything in the area. Until I offered mine, not for sale, but for donation, a legal, binding, irrevocable gift. 3 signatures later, it was done. They cried, I smiled. And for the first time in years, I slept without a weight in my chest. 3 weeks later, Ethan and his wife came over with the new buyers. They walked through the front door like conquerors, heels clicking on the wooden floors I polished 1,000 times. Mom, you're gonna love this family, his wife said, voice dripping with sweetness. They'll take great care of the house. But when they turned toward the front yard and saw the sign, time stopped. A giant sold stood in bold red letters. And below it, the words, donated to St. Mary's Community Foundation. Future site of Hayes Family Shelter. His wife's lipstick curved into a silent gasp. Ethan's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Then came the screaming, Mom, what did you do? I walked past them, slow and calm, into the yard. The morning sun hit the sign, making the red letters glow. I did what you couldn't, I said quietly. I made sure this house would help someone who actually needs it. He sputtered, his face red. You don't understand the contracts. I understand perfectly, I interrupted. I read what I signed, every word, every clause. His wife grabbed his arm, hissing something about reputation and embarrassment. I could see her calculating the lost commission, the public fallout. You donated it? Ethan finally said, voice breaking. You gave it away? I didn't give it away, I said. I gave it back to the people this house came from. The same community that kept us alive when your father died. He stepped back like the air itself had hit him. For the first time, he looked at the house, really looked at it, not as a price tag, but as something sacred. I saw tears form in his eyes. But it didn't comfort him. Because some lessons are meant to ache. The couple from the foundation arrived soon after, beaming with gratitude. They hugged me. Ethan just stood there, silent, as they took photos for the local paper, me, holding the deed, smiling in front of the sold sign. The same son he had dreamed of for his own profit now announced something pure: redemption. Later that night, I packed one small suitcase, locked the door, and walked away. I didn't look back. As I reached the main road, a single tear slid down my cheek, not of regret, but release. I moved into a small apartment near the church. The view wasn't much, just a courtyard and a few tired rosebush, but it was mine. Every morning, I walked past the shelter construction site. They kept the old oak tree, the one Ethan had swung from as a child. Underneath it, they planned to build a playground. The plaque on the wall would read, "The Hayes Family Shelter, built on love, not greed." The first night it opened, families lined up outside. Mothers holding children, fathers carrying bags of hope. And as I watched them walk through the doors of what once was my house, I realized it had finally become what it was always meant to be: a home. Ethan visits sometimes. He doesn't talk much. He just stands under the oak tree, hands in his pockets, looking smaller than I remember. I don't hate him. I never did. He was raised in a world that taught him money meant success. I was raised in one that taught me love was survival. When people ask me if I regret giving everything away, I tell them the truth: no. Because the greatest revenge isn't taking something back, it's giving it forward. And sometimes, when I pass by the shelter at sunset, I can still hear the echoes of my son's voice that day. Not the one that told me he was tired of seeing me, but the one that finally whispered, "I'm sorry." The wind carries it through the old oak tree, and I smile. The screams have long faded. But peace has moved in.